Hey y'all, happy Sunday to you. Today being the first day of standard time. Yeah, I guess I can stop wearing black now that summer is officially over. I know for a lot of people it was officially over or unofficially over after Labor Day, but I don't subscribe to that. I started mourning when we started losing significant daylight time. And of course, we gained an hour of sleep last night, but I'm like a lot of people, just get rid of the time change. Just make daylight savings time permanently, right? It saves power. We don't have to turn the lights on for a long time. But the other side is also, you got kids at a bus stop in the dark. And if we're going to do that, we have to make sure about the safety. So, but anyway, not the subject of this video. So, unless you've been living in a rock or maybe asleep in space, that's the only way that you would not know that the United States government is in a shutdown. And today is the 33rd day of this current shutdown. So, as of yesterday, November 1st, the SNAP program, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, has not been sent the deposits to people's cards. Why? Because the president, Donald Trump, I was about to say Donald J. Trump, made, sent an email um, out to all states and the United States Department of Agriculture to stop sending out the deposits on November 1st. Why? He said, Mike Johnson said on a hot mic, some of the other Republican representatives and senators are using this as leverage to make the Democrats open the government. And I set up a video last week saying they don't give a fat happy rat's ass about anybody. Why are you using hunger as a leverage when you know that these people have to have food? And so the USDA, that's the Department of Agriculture, told all states that if they used their money to fund SNAP for the month of November, they would not get reimbursed. No, they would not get reimbursed. Again, this administration does not care about you. No, they're holding food. They're holding food from you. Who does that? Who does that? Prisoners of war, POWs. Think about that. Are we POWs? Apparently, because that's what you do. That's what you do. In a war, and you have enemies in your military jails, they are called POWs. And some of the other countries make them starve unless they sign something saying yada 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 against their country. And so the Republicans, Mike Johnson, John Thune, who is the leader of the Senate, and Donald Trump, the President of the United States, are using starvation as leverage. The food banks have also jumped into this conversation because 42 million people in this country use stamps, use SNAP, use stamps. Some people call it food stamps, but it actually used to be a book of food stamps, but now it's a debit card, so it's EBT. So you will hear people calling it SNAP. You will hear people calling it food stamps. You will hear people calling it EBT. The biggest reason that a lot of people don't use the phrase of food stamps is because there's shame connected to it. Why do you have food stamps? You can work. That's ignorant. That's ignorant. Maybe they could, but they can't. Or maybe they do and they don't make enough money. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. So I was interested because the president said it was, and the USDA said that it was illegal for them to use their contingency fund, which has about $6 billion in it, which is still not enough. For the month of November, for the 42 million people on SNAP, it would take about $8 million for the whole month of November for them. And they're saying that it's only for natural disasters. Natural disasters. But here's the thing. I Googled and researched because other people were saying this, but let me just vet this out to see how many times the federal government of the United States was closed due to a government shutdown, and if the SNAP benefit program was suspended during those shutdowns. I'm going to give you the answers, but I want you to see it while I'm talking about it. But before I do that, on Friday, two federal judges, said that the United States is compelled to continue funding SNAP during a shutdown, and that they should be using the contingency fund from the United States Department of Agriculture. Why is SNAP being done by the Department of Agriculture? I know, food, but why? Shouldn't they be supporting or focusing on farms, food issues, diseases in the food, things like there's something going around about salmonella in chicken. But that might be a topic for another day. The Trump administration, he said that he's not sure, and he said this Friday, he's not sure that based on what his lawyers told him, and of course, most of you who've looked at some of the court cases and everything about his lawyers, they are lawyers, but they screw up all the time. Some judges have laughed them out of the court. But they're not sure that they have the legal authority to pay federally funded SNAP benefits during the government shutdown. And he's asking, listen to this, he's asking for clarity from the courts in the wake of the two recent decisions. Our quote, our government lawyers don't think we have the legal authority to pay SNAP with certain monies we have available, and now two courts have issued conflicting opinions on what we can and cannot do, Trump said in a post on his social media platform, which was Truth Social, not X. That is a fat lie. Those two decisions were on the same page. There is no gray space in their judgment. It says the government has to continue funding SNAP during the government shutdown. And there's precedent for that. And here's the precedent. Let me bring this up. What I have here for you, just so you can see this. Government shutdowns in the United States. Since 1980, there have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 government shutdowns. And here's the question. Of these 11 government shutdowns, how many times during those shutdowns has SNAP been suspended? Only one during this current shutdown. Only one. Only one. Actually, you can't see it. Let me scroll this one right here. That one right there. Only one. Out of those 11, only one. And why? Because during the prior 10 government shutdowns, even the most days of a shutdown, which is 35 in Trump's first administration, SNAP continued to be funded in 2018 and 2019, between December of 2018 and February of 2019, SNAP was still funded. During the 21 days during Bill Clinton's administration, SNAP was still funded. The 16 days that the government was shut down under the Obama administration, SNAP was still being funded. Other Republican presidents, George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, and then Jimmy Carter, the first one, SNAP has never stopped being funded during a government shutdown. And this guy, who keeps saying that he's smart and knows how to do everything, is asking for clarity about how they're supposed to fund SNAP during a government shutdown. Get out of here with that shit. They know exactly what they're doing. And as I said at the top of this video, they don't give a fat happy rat's ass about anybody who is not able to get food. They don't care. The only thing that they care about is their power. And that, citizens of the United States, is what an authoritarian government looks like. Not a constitutional republic democracy, but an authoritarian government leader. You want other examples? Putin of Russia, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, the leader of Hungary, the leader of El Salvador, and other leaders of other South American countries who are dictators. He praises them He praises them. He even gives grace to the leaders of China. That's what this is about. It is about power. And they're using us as leverage. But it's not just people about on Snap. No. The government is still shut down. Oh, and a little side nugget. Mike Johnson refuses to bring the House back to negotiate because that bill, the continuing resolution, was clean. We all of us have talked about this ad nauseum about the continuing resolution. It only funds the government through November 21st. Only through November 21st. That is a week before the holiday season and when when the Congress finishes their business and goes home. We have an elected representative from the state of Arizona who was duly elected by the people of her district, and yet she has not been given her oath of office. The House of Representatives and the senators, based on the Constitution, they're still getting paid. They're still getting paid. Now, some of them have bitten the bullet and they have suspended their own pay. Oh, and if you're interested, Donald Trump says that he has donated his salary, $400,000 a year. So he's donating his salary. Where he's donating it, I don't know, and honestly, I don't care. I don't care. What I do care about is $300 million for a ballroom. That money could have funded SNAP. The $230 million that he wants the Department of Justice to give him because of the witch hunt that happened during the Biden administration, and they're going to do it. So that's 230 plus 300. That's $530 million that could have funded SNAP. Oh, and I can find some other money too. I mean, I'm not even part of any government, and I know this is not rocket science. Again, it is leverage about power. So, some of you who live in states where your senators, both of your senators, are Republicans. Yep, North Carolina, Ted Budd and Thom Tillis. The good news is that Thom Tillis has decided not to run for re-election. So his seat, based on the people who are running for that seat, I'm pretty sure it's going to be flipped to blue. And then in 2028, Ted Budd will be out. That is the goal, to flip North Carolina. We have a Democratic governor, we have a Democratic lieutenant governor, and we have a Democratic attorney general. And again, shout out to Jeff Jackson, who joined the lawsuit against the government about shutting down SNAP and won. 26 states sued and they won. Were any of the states under Republican control in that lawsuit? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So here's where we are now. The government can fund SNAP. They can. The president, all he has to do is go to the USDA or have one of his minions do it and open it. The other thing too that was on my Facebook news today, that the USDA also removed from their website the information about how they could use the contingency money to fund SNAP for November. Yes, it was removed from their website. You can't make this up, people. You can't. You can't. But are we really surprised that this is happening? Are we really surprised? For the most part, I'm not surprised. I'm not. Even though some of this crap is affecting me directly, particularly healthcare, because to Medicaid, because I'm on the state's Medicaid rolls because I don't make enough money to even qualify for the ACA, the Affordable Care Act insurance marketplace. My Social Security benefits for early retirement benefits are not enough. And so they automatically put me in the state's Medicaid thing. But there's a possibility that I can be kicked off of that. And there's some confusion, even within that, there's some confusion, whether some people are going to be kicked off at the beginning of the year or some people are going to be kicked off in 2028. There's confusion about that, about the big, beautiful bill that, again, was so-called clean. So some of the stuff, particularly the website that I showed you, that he's asking for clarity from the courts, that's not the court's job. The court is there to make decisions on constitutionality or law, whether something is lawful or unlawful, not to tell you how to do it. That's what your administration is for, your minions. But of course, if you actually had people in those positions who knew what they were doing, maybe you would already know, and the EBT cards would start getting their deposits. Oh, also, there was a vote every day in the Senate voting to reopen the government. And it failed each day. Was there a vote on Saturday? And is there going to be a vote today? No. They've decided to take the weekend off. Yeah, they went home. They went home. But more and more Republican senators are rethinking this. Missouri, I need y'all to pay attention, because Senator Josh Hawley is trying to put on his red cape and become a hero for people on SNAP. Yeah. I need y'all to pay attention and not think about Superman, but the wolf in sheep's clothing. Yeah. That would be Josh Hawley. Actually, and don't get me started on Senator Tuberville from Alabama. Somebody even said he apparently, based on his years of coaching, doesn't know anything about football, much less the particulars and the data on who is even on SNAP. If you Google search for Tommy Tuberville's interview about SNAP, yeah, that might make you scratch your skull. Yeah. So I'm going to wrap this up, but I wanted to jump on and keep this conversation going, because today is the 33rd day. If the government is still shut down by Tuesday, it will tie for the longest shutdown in history. Again, that was 35 days under the first Trump administration. And if the government is still shut down on Wednesday, that will be the 36th day, the longest shutdown in the history of this country, and still under Donald Trump, who, according to him, greatest president in the history of this country. Yeah, whatever. Keep talking about this, people. This is the kind of shit that matters. It is. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you on the next one.